Fox 10 News was the first local station on the ground in Tuscaloosa Wednesday. We've been there ever since.
Libby Amos and photojournalist Eric Lowe were in the hardest hit areas of the city today. Libby joining us live today. Libby, what did you see this time?
Well, Bob and Lenise, Eric and I have been on foot today on the ground literally since daybreak. We finally made our way into Alberta City. That's what you're looking at right now, especially all of this damage you can see behind me. Earlier, we told you guys we were going to try to get here, but weren't sure if we could. That's because it was being secured by Army National Guardsmen, because we were told search and rescue missions were still ongoing as late as this morning. Now, we don't want to downplay what we've been showing you up until this point and the damage that the other areas nearby have received, but what we saw today here in Alberta City is absolutely unbelievable. The damage is as far as the eye can see. We've counted at least 6 city blocks on both sides completely destroyed. Chris Nicholson and his family were hauling out the only things left from his apartment. Nicholson lived in Alberta City and rode out the storm.
We sat there for probably a minute and a half, 2 minutes, and just it sucked the water out of the toilet. It felt like the wind was blowing so hard, it felt like it was sucking the air out of your head. It just, the air pressure changed so much, and let's just say probably sat there about a minute and a half, and it got just deathly quiet.
The destruction was shocking, but Nicholson says the sounds were even worse.
We stepped out, and everybody's just outside their door barely. Everybody's scared to go any farther, and everybody's just yelling, "Are you okay?" And we heard screams, and there's a guy on the second floor. I mean, there's just rubble, and he stepped up out of his bathtub, and he was just in shock. He didn't know what to do. He turned around, he just started picking up things. He was just in utter shock.
Nicholson immediately started rescuing his neighbors.
We made an assembly line and just started throwing stuff off, and we finally got a hole about, barely enough to fit them through, and then we pulled them out.
And the stories we are hearing today on the ground, guys, are absolutely unreal. That is just one of dozens that we have heard from people who lived here and people who survived this storm. I'm going to tell you, some of the hardest stories to let people tell us are the ones that end up with no survivors. People who have found their family members or their neighbors deceased somewhere in this giant pile of rubble. Now, just about 3 minutes after Eric and I walked up out of kind of the lower lying area of this city, the Secret Service moved in. We were searched by Secret Service, and within 15 minutes of us leaving, President Obama and his motorcade made their way down into the areas that we just showed you in that video. They literally went the same trek that we did. As the president drove past us, he waved to the people along the side of the road. People were shouting, "Please help us, please don't leave, help us, we need help." It was a very emotional moment for the people who survived and watched the president leave what used to be their neighborhood. Stay with us right here on Fox 10 News. We're going to bring you all the updates and show you more of this catastrophic damage, especially here from Alberta City. Reporting live in Alberta, Libby Amos, Fox 10 News.